So today we are having the student experience update from our software development ongoing students at Moringa School. So I'll be happy to introduce to us Bethwel Kiplimo, as well as let me start with the first one, Alvynah Wabwoba. I hope I spelled it correctly. So we'll just pass a few questions to them so that you also get to know them, know the background that they have, so that when you're asking questions, you can also get a bit of background information. Just give me one moment. Get out my script. So please tell us about yourselves. What are your hobbies and interests, as well as your educational stroke professional background. So we'll start with the ladies first. So Alvynah, then Bethwel.
Hello. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can't see you.
You can't see me?
Oh yeah, I can see you now. Sorry.
Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Alvynah. Alvynah Wabwoba. You said my name right. Hey, so I'm 22 years old. Recently graduated from JQuat, the last graduation, like I think April. Yes. My hobbies, I'll start with my hobbies and then my educational and professional background. So my hobbies are, my favorite hobby is chess. I play chess a lot. Like it's my, like when I'm having a hard time or a hard day, I'll just play chess to relax my mind and then I restructure. So I love chess. I dance. I wouldn't call it a hobby really, but I dance for fun. I love cooking. I bake. Yes, and then yes, and then so my educational background, as I've said, I just finished university, and then I joined Moringa before graduating. So I joined Moringa at February, 2nd February. So it's primary, then secondary, primary book academy, secondary book academy, then university JQuat, and then now I'm at Moringa. My professional background is mostly internship. So I've done internship with Lightmore Limited company. It's based in Nairobi, Hurlingham. Yeah. And then also with Safaricom, but that one was a sales internship. So I don't know if it counts in IT. Yes. Yes. And then yeah, so that's basically me. Yes.
All right, thank you. I can already see you have some JQuat alumni here vouching for you and a request. So you already have an order. So someone wants a banana bread. Okay. So thank you so much. Someone is saying that we should open a branch in JQuat. We should. All right. Thank you so much, Alvynah. Over to you, Bethwel. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I guess my name is Bethwel Kiplimo. I'm a rising senior at Princeton, sijamaliza shule. And then my interest, basically, I'm pretty much interested in everything to do with entrepreneurship, and then tech and education, the last one a lot, and then also controls. So I studied mechanical and aerospace engineering with a focus in the aerospace one, and so that's where controls comes in. And then what else? I'm just looking at what I had. Yeah, so I'm a senior at Princeton, I'm a rising senior. And then what else are we supposed to say? Like
your interests and your hobbies.
Okay, hobbies. I am more interested in reading. I really like reading. Like if I just find any free time, I'll just read anything. It could be an article and stuff. So mostly Russian short stories, they write really well. So I like their short stories, the English versions. But yeah, so I guess that summarizes most of it. Thank you.
Okay. So for you, it's reading, reading, reading. When I grew up, I want to be like you. So you said Russian short stories.
Yes, I can share some.
Please share some links. We can try and go through them. We see what you see in them, but that must be really nice. So the next question is, how did you hear about Moringa, and what was the motivation behind you finally joining the software dev program in Moringa School?
So I'm assuming I'm going fast, ladies.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I first heard about Moringa. I think I was in second year. Moringa had they came for a session in JKUAT. They had some boot camp in JKUAT, I think. So that's when I first heard of it, but I wasn't really keen on it per se. And then I went for my internship now after my third year. And now during the internship, I was with someone from my class. And then I realized this person can actually really code, but he was doing Android. So then he was telling me about the boot camps that he's going to. He had gone to Immobilis though. So he spoke of Moringa. And then again, also we had a hire from Moringa who said apparently he hadn't gone to university, but he was being hired for a senior developer, like the manager of the developers. So I was like, okay, then this Moringa is quite something. So then now what's finally made me join Moringa is that I have a cousin who went there. So he finished software development also. So I thought, why not try also? Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So for you, it's big on referral, people referring you to Moringa School.
Okay, so
okay. Bethwel, you can go up next. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I had some friends do Moringa like 4 years ago, actually. And they really liked it. And they were like, oh, if you ever get a chance, do it. And then my interest at that time were really in the aerospace. Like, I was just like, why do I need to learn how to code? And at that time, I didn't really know, what programming entailed as such. And then I went and did some projects at home. And then I realized that a lot of the things I was trying to do could be made easier if I knew how to code. And so I started teaching Python and stuff. And then last year I realized I wanted to know if I really liked tech. So that was the time where I was like, I'm just about to start my senior year, which is the final year, and I want to know if I really like tech and would like to go work for a tech company. And so I decided to take a gap year, come and do Moringa, because you'll be coding for 5-6 months. And at that time, if I'd really hate it, then I won't do it. But I've really loved it. And so that's why I joined, just to figure out if I really like tech. And it was mostly from a referral.
Okay. Thank you for that. And in terms of the learning model, how different would you say JKUAT is from Moringa? And of course, for Bethwel now, how different is the learning model in Princeton from Moringa? So yes, ladies first.
Well, okay, the learning model, there are several differences, first of all, because in like JKUAT, we were a class of 66 students and we had one lecturer per module. So, it was one lecturer for 66 students. But in Moringa, we are divided into groups, so like 11 students per TM. So there's that difference. But then again, in JKUAT, I didn't mention that I did computer technology in JKUAT. Yeah. So in JKUAT, the computer technology being taught is basically just basics. So they'll teach you data structures and algorithms. They'll teach you. So there's a lot of background noise. Anyway, they'll teach you the basics. They won't teach you like Python, and the way we're being taught right now is Python, like actually Python. So in JKUAT, they'll just introduce you to Python, introduce you to Java, introduce you to C#, introduce you to, like, it's mostly introductions, data structures, and algorithms. But at Moringa, they're actually teaching you how to code with Python. There are sample projects. There's a project you do throughout the week, and then there's an IP which will make sure now you go back to your project. So there's that difference. Another difference, I would say the online and physical one, but I think that has been taken up because of COVID also. Like I think Moringa used to have physical classes, yeah. Yes, yes.
Yes, we do.
So those
We
are the
used
major,
to.
yeah. So those are the major differences in terms of learning. Also, in Moringa we use an LMS. In JQuat you use books. But now soft copy notes. So basically the same, but I think different approaches to it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Alvynah. Bethwel?
I guess so. One same thing is that we both use LMS, the Learning Management System, but Princeton uses actually they use the Canvas now. And then the major difference that I see is more in terms of the audience. I think, at least for the computer science department, their focus is mostly like people coming from engineering trying to learn how to code just so they can do simulations, and then others from the CS, the computer science program. So it's mostly a diverse audience, and so you find that they mostly focus on the theoretical aspects of it. Like data structures, you just learn data structures in theory, and then you only code like very small amounts of it. And then, well, at Moringa, of course, you focus more on the projects. And then the other thing that is different is actually about them, Java. So our focus, the school's focus is mostly on Java. So they teach you how to, like in the first CS class, you learn Java. In the second CS, like the data structures class, you learn with Java. And then all the other classes you're expected to learn on your own. Basically, a professor will be like, oh, we'll be using Python. Please learn how to use Python before the class. If they're using C, the same thing, you have to learn it on your own. While at Moringa, I feel like whenever a new language was introduced, at least you were given some time to learn it or taught how it is, you know how it works. So I'd say those are the two major differences.
Okay, thank you for that. So follow-up question for Alvynah. If you were to go back in time and you have the option of joining JQuat and joining Moringa School, which one would you have gone with and why?
Okay. This question really, okay, I would, even if I was to go back in time, I would actually do both of them because, okay, I feel like having had a base on programming in general, I've had an easier time at Moringa because like the prep was a bit easy because I knew HTML, CSS, so I was just learning JavaScript only. For Python also, it's not an entirely new thing. Like it's like I'm sharpening my skills. So I don't know. I think if I had started with Moringa, I had probably not done a programming course in uni because as much as I have a base on coding and all, and I actually love to code, Moringa is still challenging. If I'm being honest, like it's still really challenging. So I feel like I started with JQuat and then Moringa. If I had started with Moringa, I don't think my career would be in tech. Honestly, yeah. So I'd still start with JQuat.
Okay. How about you, Bethwel? Except from Princeton, but going to the big school, what would you have gone with? Moringa School or Princeton?
I still choose Princeton, but I mean, I'd have done Moringa much earlier than, I mean, if I knew how Moringa was, I'd have done it much earlier before I'm going. And I think it would have made my Princeton experience much easier. Yeah, because that first CS course was tough. It was horrible. And yeah, so I guess I'd try to do Moringa much earlier.
Okay. And Have you had moments where you're like, this Moringa School thing, no, I feel like it's too much on me. I'm tired. Have you had such moments, and how did you overcome that?
Well,
Listen to
I
that.
have
Yeah.
I have definitely had that moment.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the time that I actually almost quit was when we were doing Angular, and
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't understand what was going on. I was doing research, and then again on that week, now the second week of Angular was my graduation week, and still my graduation was on Friday. I had to deliver the IP on Monday, and yes, so I was really frustrated then because I had to be present. People have traveled to come and see me. It's a celebration mood, and I'm there. I'm confused. First of all, Angular is just hard on me. I'm actually still learning Angular till now, and we did Angular 4 weeks ago. Yeah, but I'm still going through Angular now on YouTube because it was quite something to me. So at that point, I knew I had to finish my IP by Monday because I had asked for an extension, and the only extension that was given was on submission. But on Monday, my IP had to be done. So I was doing it at night. In short, me completing my IP by Monday just it showed me that I can actually do it. Like, this thing isn't hard. Why am I quitting? I can actually do it. So that's how, like, by me completing that IP by Monday, that's how I knew I'm ready for the challenge. I can do this. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So how did you deal with your people from home would come to see you all the way? Those shambra shambra, and you had an IP. I might just set your mind that I have to do this and I have to do it.
No, so luckily I'm a morning person, so I wake up quite early in the morning, like around 2. So that's when I was doing my IP. So like on Friday I woke up quite early, so 2. I did my IP until around 6. The graduation was online also, luckily. So during the day it was celebrations, but now I was regulating my celebrations. And then again Saturday morning, early morning, then Sunday early morning, and I managed to finish the IP. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you for that, Alvina. Bethwel.
Yeah, I guess this. I had such. I had some of those moments. I feel like more, but not like the quitting. It's like, oh, why is this so hard? And then I think the first was in the beginning when it was actually prep. Like, it shouldn't be hard, but it was hard. And then the thing was, it started right when I was coming from school, like before I even got home. And so your home, your sleep schedule is just complete opposite. You sleep during the day and are awake at night. And so you have to attend the lessons and everything. And it was just so full. I feel like the second week I hadn't done the first IP, and then I had, and that was the point I was like, is this actually going to be done, you know? And I scheduled a meeting with my the TM Trust Stafford, and he was really kind and was like, hey, just, I understand that, you've had those challenges. And then, so we rescheduled some of my IPs. So I tried to, like, I still got done, but I think that was the moment I was like, this is it. And then, other than that, yeah, and then I didn't have people to talk to because at that time I was new and then I'm jet lagged. So when people are awake and working together, I'm sleeping. And then I feel like the second session was, it was hard, but there were people I could talk to. I'm like, have you started? No. Oh, it feels like I'm not alone. And then, yeah, you reach out to each other and that kind of thing. I think that made the second session much easier and better.
That's interesting. Stafford, you're being shouted out at. Thank you for that. So, what has been your major highlight of Moringa School?
Well, okay. My major highlight, I'd say I led a design class. So yeah, I did a design class. I think Katana attended, I think. So I did a design class in Figma. I was also new to Figma actually, but then having to take a class through it was quite nice. So I've taken up Figma. I'm using it a bit, yeah. And then I was also a Scrum Master for the first prep week. So it was challenging though at first because you have to do new things. First of all, I was new to GitHub when I was joining Moringa. So there's that also. Yeah, so I'm actually glad I was able to have a GitHub account and be able to use it because I used to hear Git and GitHub. And yes, and I didn't join. I don't know why I didn't join in university, but again, I was in JQuat, so really not keen on they were keen on the basics, not the coding per se. So yeah, those are my highlights as a student here. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Alvynah. Bethwel?
I think it was during Flask. Yeah, Flask. And basically, there was this project one being like, I want to try this and see if it works. It was basically a learning system like for kids, just kids getting questions over WhatsApp and then they submit the answers and then they get the responses back. And we actually get to do that for the Flask project and I was really happy about that. And I think it was one of the highlights. And then actually seeing that it could work. So that was also another good part. And then several like friends, at least when I funny and good people to work with, I think that was that highlight.
The collaboration. Okay. And what do you hope to have to get out of your learning experience in Moringa School?
Okay, what I hope to get first of all is, as I said, I needed to better my skills. So first of all is I'd like to get better coding skills. So like right now I'm doing Python because by the time I'm leaving Moringa, I'd like to be able to come up with my own applications like from scratch and they actually work and they look good, they're presentable. So it's the skills, also the soft skills, especially communication, because I'm quite an anxious person. Like if we were if we were having a meeting like in person, I'd probably be fidgeting in a way. So also that, yeah, I think that's what basically just to get rid of the imposter syndrome and be able to actually show my skills. You know, you can't just say I know Python, but then you can't show your skills. So yes.
Okay, fair enough. Bethwel?
Yeah, I think one of them was to get rid of the imposter syndrome and confirm that I actually like coding. And then the second one was sort of similar. I told you initially that my interest was in trying to explore how I could fulfill my interest in education and tech with, you know, by learning how to code much better. And I think I already got that in a way. And also like exploring large code bases without freaking out. I think that's, at least I'm learning that I'm no longer too afraid to look at long, 500 lines of code and be like, oh no, what if I break all this thing through the product project? So I think I've gotten mostly what I wanted out of it, and also the communication skills. Like I was generally pretty afraid from a long time ago to speak in public. So yeah.
All right, looks like things are coming along for you guys. So has COVID-19 affected your schooling, if at all?
Okay. My schooling in terms of Moringa only or just in general?
Just in general. Did you graduate during the pandemic or before?
Yeah, so definitely COVID affected my schooling because schools closed in 2019 March. So ideally, I was supposed to graduate in 2020 around April. But then my graduation came to 2021, which was online again because there was a lockdown in the country. So definitely it affected my schooling. Also, in terms of Moringa, because I was looking forward for the physical class. Like we actually, when we were joining, we thought that for core we're going to go for physical classes. So also that I was looking forward to that. I had made arrangements to move closer to school. So yes, but in terms of like the content and all, okay, I don't think it has really affected because I don't know the physical interaction. Maybe if I had the physical interaction at Moringa, then I'd have something to compare it to. But now this is what I know, so it really hasn't affected my schooling that way at Moringa. Now that is, yeah.
Same for me, I think. I mean, if COVID didn't have happened, I would be presenting for my thesis today and then graduating in a week's time. So it definitely did. And then I got to take the gap year. So that's a good thing, I think. And in terms of learning at Moringa, I think it definitely did. I think one of the things I was looking forward to was the chance interactions with people. Like I did, at least for the last 3 years, I had not interacted with a lot of people being in school most of the time. So I was really looking forward to like just meeting people at random while studying, and doing the IPs. So that is one thing that I'd say is the negative part of it. But then on the positive part of it is I like learning at strange times, like around 10 p.m. to like 2 a.m. I like really like doing most of my stuff in there, or like very early in the morning between 7 and 9. And so being able to do that at within person would have been difficult, but right now I feel like most of the time I could get my work done the night before or very early in the morning without having to like wait until you get to school, kind of thing. So it has affected it both positively and negatively.
As a follow-up question, so what are the highlights and lowlights of learning remotely in your experience? And wait, just a minute. From Moringa School, you can ask questions on the chat so that after this round of questions, then we can take questions from the chat. Yes, Alvynah, you can go. Highlights and lowlights of remote learning.
Yeah. So as Bethwel said, also I'm a morning person, so I'm most active maybe around 2. I sleep early. I saw someone ask in the chat how I'm dedicated to wake up at 2. I sleep very early. I sleep at 9, 10 latest. So I'll wake up at 2, and that's when my mind is most active and most active. So the fact that I can actually go through the LMS and go through the content, do my research from like 2, and then by the end of the day, like I'll have my work done. It's very flexible. Your time, you can manage your time very flexibly. Like you don't need to be somewhere at 8. You don't need to wake up at 6 so that you can travel to school and get to school on time. And then again, from school also, like the traffic in Nairobi, like all that. That's the good thing about learning remotely. But then the low light, if I'll call it that, is that again, I was also looking forward to like making new friends, Also when you're having a bug, especially programming, when you're having a bug and you're trying to get someone to debug online, it's quite hard. It's actually quite hard because they can't see the code. But if someone was there, maybe it would take 5 minutes. If it's online and you're sending pictures back and forth, screenshots, and then okay, you go for a meeting and then you have to go through the code again, that takes like 25 minutes. So there's also that. Yes. And then also getting your peers is quite a challenge in a way because okay, you'll wake up at 2 and then you get a bag. So you'll have to wait till like after the stand up. So 10 before you get someone, unless you have a close relationship with this person who you can call at 2. But then again, yeah.
So I'm not sure I understand Kevin's question, but okay, let's go to the lowlights. I'll start with highlight. I think the flexibility was really a major one. You basically could plan your own time, decide I want to study for this portion, do this for the other portion, without the friction of like travel, having to like be in the same physical location for a really long time. And then, so that was one of the highlights. So, and for example, I'm doing an internship with MCOPA right now, but that would not be possible if I, had to go to the physical location for the whole day, and then the internship obviously wouldn't allow you to like come to the workplace at night or anything. And then the low lights, yeah, mostly the lack of physical interaction. I think that was a very big low. And then, of course, bugs that always come up. But mostly I'd look at it from the positive side of it. I think the highlights are much more than the low.
All right. So last one, if you were to change anything about Moringa School, what would that be?
Okay, well, Moringa School it's good. If I was to change something, though, it's I'm saying this from a good place, by the way.
It's okay, won't take heart.
Yeah, it's the way we are jumbled up like throughout. Okay, for example, when I joined Moringa, I had a TM for 2 weeks. So of course, we had already created a rapport with this TM and the group members. For some reason, that's still my favorite group. But with the team members, and then after 2 weeks, we were changed, and then after another 2 weeks again, because now the prep was done, we were changed to a different TM, and then now to the TM that I'm having now. So, and I get that you have to be able to work with different people and change, but then again, having already created a rapport, so you've just started getting your people, you've started getting your peers, and then you're changed again, and then you have to do this again, and then you're changed again, and you have to do this again. Mind you, those are not the group weeks, because we also have team project weeks, which again you'll work with different people. So it was quite something. It was quite something. But then anyway, we were able to manage, and I'm glad I was taken through all that change, because now I can work with different people. I believe I can work with different people. And then the other thing, the LMS, I don't know how regularly it's updated, but I think also that, yeah, because we've really had to be able, you have to Google of how, like, okay, for instance, deploying things on Heroku, the method that is on the LMS is different with the method that we have been using, because now if we use the LMS, we couldn't be able to deploy it because it's an outdated one. So also the content, they can update it regularly. But then what I like about Moringa is the fact that they divide us into smaller groups. So like a TM can handle just 10 students. So it's better than having to have one TM and your 50 students. So that I like about Moringa. Yeah.
Bethwel, you're on mute. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, trying to think. I hadn't thought of it in terms of how the learning is structured. I'd mostly thought, like, I think one of Moringa's key focuses is on the employability. Like, when you're done, like, I think you're pretty confident you can join a company and be able to work with them, like, even with different tools. For example, I had experience with most, like, at least by the time we finished like the last Django, I was like pretty confident with my Python skills with Django and Flask, and then I got into a PHP group, and then using Codeigniter as a framework. First of all, I didn't like I'd never seen PHP code before, and at the beginning I was like, I'm not sure I'll be able to do this, but yeah, I think within the first 4 days with some guidance, I was able to catch up really quickly, and be able to like navigate the code base and be like, oh, I know what this function does. And that is all within a week. And that is something I thought is really important. Like I didn't even thought I'd be able to do that. And then, so that's like the most positive thing I can say, like the end results of Moringa is, because I guess we're at the end. And then one thing that I could change was what? Introduce like a personal project that people do, because I mean, we have the IPs, right? But those are mostly guided. Like the TM will know like, oh, you broke off one of the, one of the views, it's not going to work or something. But then what I'd introduce is like a project, like a personal project where you come into Moringa, especially the core. I think for the prep, it's not really necessary because it's short and also it's pretty introductory. But for the core, I'd say a personal project where at the beginning, during the first week, you get people to review why they're actually doing core, like why are you doing this, like, and then have them come up with a project that they'd like to do by the end of it. And so during the 15 weeks, like, I know because of the different framework that we cover during ProDev, no, during core, I think it's very hard to like say like, oh, have milestones for each period, but I'd say like like have students like sort of go through it every, I don't know, at the beginning of every module, be like, okay, so this was your plan. Like, how do you think you'd implement it with Flask? How do you think you'd implement it with Django or with Angular? And then just before ProDev, like for 1 week, have them do it. Be like, okay, you have all these ways you could implement them, now do it. And so at the end of ProDev, someone has a product that is their own. They could go and do a startup with it. They could go and try to kind of build on it. And that way, I feel like it will encourage more people to try startups, entrepreneurship, and that kind of thing. And so it would also make them more employable, because then you see that this is someone that has something of their own. They do not just rely on, Moringa's IPs, which are great and give you a lot of learning, but they also went further ahead and have a personal project of their own. That's something I'd introduce, but yeah, I'm not sure how it would work with the timelines and all, but yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I'd like Kevin to just unmute and ask the question, because Bethel was saying he needs more context. So, Kevin, Calvin, can you hear me?
Yeah. So,
Oh.
so I think maybe my question to Bethel was basically like when for him is working on something, like already it's the next day. Like how is he able to like juggle between like having to work, for instance, let's say like tomorrow, okay, like today's work, let's say like now he's asleep. So when he wakes up, I'll have to go through content that's already like been gone through. So how is he able like to integrate that into his schedule, and maybe like if there are sessions that he missed, how is he able to account for them? And does he find like that time lag challenging? Or to frame my question better, it will be like if maybe he was told to refer somebody at Princeton who was like, can he be able to manage the same way that he's managing? Yeah.
I think I get your question now. Yeah. So actually, so I'm in Kenya right now, niko Nakuru, but at the beginning, so that was at the beginning of prep, right? So I just learned, like I started the day I was flying back. And so I had to call my TM like during a stopover and be like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make today's class, but I'll be flying most of the day. And then for the others, for the first 2 weeks, I was asleep most of the day. And so it was harder because I'd wake up for the stand up and then go to sleep almost immediately after. And then the same thing in the evening. And most of the time I hadn't done what I needed to do, but I always tried to cover up at night, like to make sure like I got everything that I needed to do at night. But then after 2 weeks, my schedule came back to normal. And then, yeah, so that was for most of prep. I had like time difficulties. But then for core, I feel like I mostly adjusted. Everything was good. And then, did I still have any challenges? Yes. But for most of it, I sort of learned how to like navigate the LMS kind of thing. So it was much easier. And then, so I could learn on my own and then just attend the stand-ups, like having gone through most of the content. So it was much easier.
Okay.
Thank you, Calvin, for that question. Is there any other question before I close it off? If you want connections to join Princeton, it's not too late. You can do your master's there. Anyone? All right. Okay. No one wants to join Princeton? Okay. JQuads? All right. Sawa, thank you so much for that. Alvynah and Bethwel, it was great having you here. It was great to also have feedback from you guys. We thrive on feedback because it helps us to make the experience better for the next people who are coming, the next cohorts, and in the future, near and in long future.